Hello, everyone. When new money comes in, I think it will make the job less important because we'll be thinking about how big it should be all the time. At 400 investments, I talked about the investment and said I thought we would make 20 times our money. The top 30 investments on that sheet make up about 56 to 57% of our assets. It is possible to do pretty well as a long-term trader, but most people can't do better than the stock markets. People should put their money into passive investments like index funds. This is a good way to protect yourself from inflation. After a while, I think all cars will be electric. Hybrids are just a short-term fix, so automakers don't have to lose money on them. But I think electric cars will be the only kind of cars in 10 to 15 years. I know you love hybrids, but they won't last because they're too expensive. They don't work well enough. They won't be in the mix either. The stock is down because I think it's because it will all be electric. The idea of making cheap cars scared people who thought he would switch his attention to robocabs instead. That's why the stock is falling. China only makes money from one business that sells $25,000 cars. Also, that's the Warren Buffett company. It makes $1 billion a quarter, while ours makes $4 billion. No one else makes money. Both Ford and General lose a lot of money on this project. It's really tough to make these CS. It's funny, I just yesterday talked about motors. The average company that has been around for 100 years paid $5,000 for each motor in a car. We can make a motor for $1,000, and you're making cars with engines that burn fuel. Businesses don't look for cheaper ways to do things because they're so used to doing things the same way they always have. Among other things, he can do things that would usually cost $5,000 for $1,000. In order to avoid this, he chose to start an electric car company instead of a gasoline car business. Everyone gets stuck in their ways and doesn't always try to make things better, cheaper, or faster, even when they should. Richard then Ayor says, "Show me the incentives, and I'll show you how people act. Why should you someone who 556? That's why the stock is going down, so they're making cheap cars and robocabs. On the other hand, they're only making 1.2 million cars in a factory that can make 3 million cars a year. The price will go up until 5 million of these new cars are made. This is because they won't be able to make them as cheaply as they had hoped. 6 million cars have been sold so far, which is good news for Tesla. I went to Tesla and met the people who work on computers and cars that drive themselves. Ron, would you like to see how I made unbelievable progress? They asked me afterward. The first 11 versions had to be designed so that they had code every single thing that happened. It was impossible. And so therefore they weren't making progress for 2 or 3 years. They were at a plow. And now what's happened, they version 12, they have all this enormous amounts of data. And now they have computer to figure out humans can't do it now. They have compute to figure everything out. And so now, you're on the verge with autonomous driving in your car. Talk to anyone who owns these Model 3s. They'll tell you the same thing. It's unbelievable, the quality. And it keeps getting better and better and better when when you see those cars sitting around, that's going to making them real fast. And they're early on the ramp up. And when they're making them like that, what happens is that you don't have a. You see, if you have to make sure everything runs right. And so they're not making 97% yet, but their percentage they're making is higher and higher and higher. What Tesla has accomplished is extraordinary on SP on Tesla. We have a 17.5 million shares, 4.5 million shares is me, so we've been investors for a long time. And it's clear that when we first put money into it, some of the things he was doing drove me crazy, even though I admired him. But I did some deep breathing and told him, I really deserve to make a lot of money by investing in this. Since then, Tesla has gone on to make about 1.8 million cars a year. For the first time, we put money into the company in 2014. At that time, they were only making 41,000 cars a year. They're getting close to 20 million cars a year after going from 41,000 cars a year to 1.8 million cars a year. China is about 1 million right now of their 2 million up, but a large percentage of what they make in China is exported from China to Europe. The more they build in Europe, of course, the more they're going to save on transportation costs and duties. The idea is that China invited Musk in and invited him in because the Chinese core companies had done very poorly for a long time. And the promise was that he's going to help them become better core manufacturers. And going to he's not trying to take over the market in China, better core manufacturers, and develop a local supply chain. And so he's the only one that's ever been invited in China that's been able to not have a partner, a local partner to operate their business. So I'm convinced that they have good operations in China. The person who runs their Chinese business, the Tesla business in Austin, in fact, is probably in line to be important person. At Tesla overall, he's Chinese, and he was brought from China to Texas, and now runs the business there. He's going to be in charge of all the automobile business. So I think the relations they have with China are exceptionally good. They're both people are getting something from it. And I think that business will continue to grow, but he's going to open plants all around the world for low-cost cars. And wait till you see what's going to happen when all of a sudden they start selling cars instead of for $440,000 a piece for $25,000 a piece, which is going to happen in the past a year and a half up from their new model. The new model they think is going to do 5 million cars a year, 5 million cars a year, and we made about $4 billion. So far cashed in about $1.5 billion we sold for clients, 6.8 million shares, three years ago at $225 a share, up 15 or 20 times enough. And we now have 17.5 million shares, and I think we're going to make 6 or 7 times. I believe the stock price is now 225 to 230 to 250. I think it's going to be 500 in 2025, and I think in 2030 it's going to be 1,500. But Tesla, I own personally 5 million shares. I bought it after all of my clients had bought their stock, and I said to the board of our mutual funds, I said, look, I'm not going to buy stock and for myself any longer. I'm only going to invest in our funds in private fields. But in this instance, I think we're going to make 20 times their money. I'd like to invest $50 million in And if that works out, then Baron Capital will be stronger financially. If doesn't, I can afford to lose. It wouldn't be pleasant, but I will take the chance. And I said that if you approve this, I'm the last person to buy. I'm not taking anyone's opportunity. I tried to get everyone else to buy, and I wasn't that successful. I'm the last one to buy, and I will be the last one to sell. I will not sell a single share for myself until I sell for all my clients. I bought stock for people and then sold about a quarter of their shares. It's true, I haven't sold a single share. And I've been very clear about the clients and the funds that own this stock. Sometimes clients call me and say, it's a little too much for